Hey everyone, it's KBash. We're here talking about some of the things that were unresolved in my video on Dissidia that I just released. So of course my review is incomplete in many ways, which I hate to admit, but yeah, there are certain things I left out that I feel like need to be addressed before someone chooses to actually buy the game. The first thing on the docket is learning how to play the game and your characters. For whatever godforsaken reason, the developers of Dissidia neglected to include a character guide, which is essential in a game like this. The thing is that all the characters are different in some way. They all have different skills, skill sets, and some of them like perform better in one aspect than another. For example, Furion, who you'll see me play often, is a ground-based fighter who literally just, like, his aerial attacks are garbage. Or I should say his aerial attack is garbage. So you want to play him on the ground, but you might not realize that until, you know, you pick him up and play for a while. And there's a slew of characters who have these little quirks that you wouldn't think of unless you went online and found the fucking guide. And then, yeah, thankfully the guide does exist online, and for me, that's not a problem. I go online to research stuff all the time in games, you know? I did that with all the Dark Souls series games. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. So I found that stuff no problem. But for a beginner who needs their handheld, yeah, it's gonna be a piss off, and they're not gonna understand who to pick and how to play their characters right. A lot of journalists have said that the tutorial is pretty bad. I get that it's annoying. There's no doubt it's like stumbly and slow and annoying, but I will say that the tutorial, if you read it, will teach you how to play, and just playing by yourself will teach you in, again, 2 to 5 hours. Not that big of a deal to have that kind of a small learning curve. If anything, the difficulty comes from spacing your moves right and making sure you're avoiding things and counterpicking. So that's point 2, balance issues. This game's getting balanced a lot, and it's already been balanced a lot. I see tons of comments about, man, Dissidia needs to be balanced, this character's OP, man, Cloud's OP. No one is OP. Okay, if you're playing at silver tier or bronze tier, no one is OP, and if you think they are, you're trash. You're actually just trash. Get better and learn how to space your moves out. Now, at top tiers of competitive play, which is the only time that balancing is that big of an issue, because that's where skill sets actually are like put to the test, the real test. If a clear outlier is showing, that's where the character needs to be balanced. If you're not at that top tier, stop crying for balance. Just stop. You're an idiot. This happens in every fighting game. I've seen it a million times. Just shut the hell up. Okay, another thing, online, there is lag. Yeah, the servers are not very good. I hate to admit it, but yeah, the servers are pretty bad. I didn't encounter it too much, but I will say, if you sit down for 5 hours and play consecutively, you will become intensely annoyed with the 2 out of 6 matches that have really bad lag in them. You will be very annoyed, because you'll lose, and it's like that. When you lose 2 out of 6 because of lag, it feels awful, and it's gonna happen, and they need to fix that. They do, and that's part of why I can't really recommend most people play this game if it's a new concept for them. If they know what they're buying into or the nostalgia's powerful enough, I get that, but otherwise, yeah, there's gonna be problems. Also, you might run into bots in your ranked games, right? See, I didn't even know this because I don't think I even encountered them, and if I did, I didn't notice it either way. But apparently bots can be placed on your team online, and that, to me, is like, yes, there are players worse than bots, there is such a thing, but that is so fucking obnoxious that you could end up, you know, losing points in an online game, which, or whatever, virtual points don't matter, but like, when you lose it for a reason that feels stupid, it feels bad, and that's not a good gaming experience for anyone, right? Moving on from that, we have next, continued support. This game gets patched a lot, which I mentioned, but they're also patching in new stuff. Even though they have the DLC that you can buy, there's also, in March, apparently they're providing a free stage, Orban Monastery, the first level of the Final Fantasy Tactics original game, which is so cool, like, so cool. I looked at it and I was like, man, that looks kind of shitty, but then I thought about it. FFT is really, like, an ugly-looking game, I mean, from 2018's perspective. It's a beautiful thing in its own right, but, you know. And if they continue adding stuff like that, that is so awesome. I think that's so valuable for a game to show continued support like that, especially free content, when it's kind of a small thing. Stages shouldn't be that much money to begin with. Anyway, the last point I really want to touch on before we end this thing is the future of Dissidia in esports, which I've seen a lot of comments or a lot of articles regarding this game, especially on event hubs or event scrubs, whatever you want to call it. This game will break out in esports, or this game has a lot of potential in esports because it's team-based and stuff like that. That might work in Japan, I think, where, you know, people can actually go to the arcades and play this and be close and, you know, travel pretty fairly easily to get to where they need to be. But I think about countries like Canada and America, where, like, just pockets of players are so spread apart. And honestly, like, if I ask, like, 20 people who are peers of mine, do you know what Dissidia is? I guarantee you, like, one of them will know. That's bad. Like, this game is not as heavily understood or like as revered as perhaps it would be elsewhere in the world, especially in a country like Japan where Final Fantasy is such a big deal. I don't think the player base is there, honestly, and I hate to say that because I would love to see this game played at a high level. Recently I got into an online game where I watched, you know, a marksman pin a guy down with a continuous stream of bolt fire, and I ran in there, did an HP attack, and killed them. I feel like the game could feel really dynamic and fun at the competitive level. It's just that I don't know that the support is there. Also, the game didn't make it to EVO 2018, so not saying that's a death sentence, it's just kind of shitty. It's kind of a stumbling block if your game's not making it to EVO. Whatever. So yeah, the game has its share of problems. It's got a lot of good things coming to it, and I honestly can't wait to see if they fix the online. Otherwise, I would say if you're not sold on it now, hold your money back. And if they continue to pump out stuff you like, or if you're really invested but you're kind of saving the money and they fix the online and that's what you're looking to play, that's when you jump in. Because honestly, the game, you're not missing out by not playing now, okay? Like, people can talk all they want about skill. This game is, like, leagues easier to play than a game like Street Fighter. In Street Fighter, yeah, the game is intensely difficult, yeah? At least if you understand the competitive scene, it's intensely difficult. But if you're playing Dissidia, it's more, again, just spacing and whatnot. But 3D space is so hard to, like, comprehend as a human being. So you're gonna have a lot of, like, you need a lot of character knowledge, like how characters interact in 3D space around each other. You probably won't understand what I'm talking about until you find yourself in those situations, but yeah. The game is pretty easy to jump into, I think. Don't listen to those fucking idiots who can't follow a basic tutorial with their eyeballs. Yeah, the font's tiny, but so are their penises, so yeah.